for example, let's take a very large company, and it
Mhm.
has multiple supervisory orgs under it, and then it has their own substructures. Now you
Yes.
want let's say the CEO is sitting in this particular org. You want the CEO to be able to see all the employees under him in the supervisory org. Are you saying, is that
Yes.
possible? It is not possible. So the super in Workday, the supervisory org structure is directed, or it is you will create the supervisory org structure based on the managers and the reporting structure. So let's say in your company, your manager has, like, let's start from the CEO level. So let's suppose you're a CEO. This is a CEO. Now CEO has no manager. So you will create a supervisory org and then another supervisory org just for the CEO. So you'll have two orgs like this. In one org, it will be in this org there will be no manager in this org, and you will hire CEO in this org, and you will not assign a manager, and then you will add CEO here and assign CEO as the manager for this particular org. So here you will hire CEO, there will be no manager here, no manager. And then you will assign CEO as the manager for this particular org. And in this org, let's say you will hire all the chief of staff. So basically, who will be the chief of staff? The people who report to the CEO. So those are generally the chief operating officer, chief technological officer, the CHRO, chief human resources officer. So all the chief of staff will be in this particular org. Now let's say there are 10 chief of staff altogether, 10 people. So if there are 10 chief of staff, and if they have their own reports, that means you will be creating 10 supervisory orgs as subordinates under CEO. Each of these 10 chief of staff will have their own set of directors reporting to him. If there are, let's say, 5 directors under this particular, for each of these chief of staff, if they have 5 different directors, you will be creating 5 supervisory orgs. Basically, in Workday, you will be directing, or you will be creating the supervisory orgs based on number of managers there are and how the reporting structure looks like. If you have 15 management levels, or 15 managers will be reporting to each other, you will be creating 15 supervisory orgs altogether. And that is how your supervisory org structure will look like. It is all depending upon the manager and the reporting structure. So basically, what is supervisory org? Supervisory org is for just hiring the employees, but you need to create this relation between different orgs and subordinate orgs based on the management reporting structure. All right, so that is how the org structure is created. If you have like one manager has 3 reportees, each of these reportees have 5 different reportees, and under this you have like this. So this is a manager, this is a manager, this is a manager. These, the lowest node will be the employees, and everyone above that will be a manager, will be managing someone, and will also be managed by someone until the last person, who is the CEO of the company, who will have himself as the manager. Now, apart from supervisory orgs, there are a lot of other organization types in Workday. Like, okay, I'm just going to list out a few. So we have supervisory orgs, company, we have cost center, we have location, we have customer organization, business unit. These are some of the organization types in Workday. And there are a lot of other organization types, like we have something called as fund, we have something called as grant, but these organization types are not widely used, meaning there is not every company will use these specific organization types. If you want to use those organization types, you can still use those organization types depending upon the use case. I mean, if you want to enable it, you can enable it and use it. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to really create those organization types. So where will you see these different organization types in Workday? If you go to maintain org types, this is where you'll be able to see the different organization types in Workday. So you can see company, cost center, location, region, program, fund, gift, business unit. These are all the different organization types. If I go one step above, so you can see this is all part of something called as costing. So under costing category, you will see all these different organization types. And you can see there is no supervisory organization. Although supervisory organization is an organization type, you will not see them listed over here because it does not come under the any of these categories. Supervisory organization is a very um, so even without any one of these orgs, you can still go ahead and implement Workday. But without supervisory org, you will not be able to implement Workday. It's one of the basic structures, hence it is not added here. The reason being, you need to, it is always enabled. Here you have the possibility to enable or disable. If I switch it off, if I say required is no, which means that you don't need to have a company mandatory. Even without having a company, you can still proceed to hire an employee and not assign a company or not assign a cost center. But without a supervisory org, you will not be able to hire an employee, and that is one of the reasons you don't see the supervisory org added as one of the org here. Okay, in the costing category. The next is, if you see here, the hierarchy. Now, for each of these items in the costing, you'll see most of them will have, or almost all of them will have a hierarchy as well. And hierarchy, company hierarchy, cost center hierarchy, region hierarchy, these are also part of these are also organization types. So let me explain what exactly do these mean. So for each of these as well, not for supervisory org, okay? For each of these, you have something called company hierarchy, you have cost center hierarchy, you have location hierarchy, you have custom org hierarchy. Every single org, like this organization type, you can create a hierarchy as well. Now, can someone tell me what does a hierarchy mean? What is the definition of a hierarchy? Let me explain. Let's talk about location hierarchy. So until now, we understood like an organization is for what? It is for grouping employees. Now tell me, why do you want to group employees together? Is there any reason we want to group employees together? One of the obvious reasons is for convenience, because a logical way of arranging or logical way of grouping employees is via, let's say, by company or by cost center or by location. If there are 15 employees, or let's say there are 1000 employees in your company, and out of these 1000 employees, let's say 500 are from the USA, 500, let's not take 500, 500 are from the USA, 250 from Canada, and 250 from India. Suppose, okay. Now, how do you want to group these employees? Obviously, when I say USA, it will not be just USA. It will be some place in USA, right? There will be some state, there will be some location. Let's say in this particular company, um, there are, let's say in USA, there are about uh, 30 locations in USA where this company has offices. In Canada, let's suppose this company has offices in 25 locations, and in India, it has offices in 50 locations. These are all assumption values. There is no logic behind how I'm getting these numbers. I'm just assuming. Let's say there are 30 locations in USA, 25 locations in Canada, and 50 locations in India. Okay, so now you have these different locations created, like 13 US, 25 in Canada, and 50 in. Now, how will you group them together based on the hierarchical structure? Now you can say that these 30 different locations, they belong to different state. So it's not from all these locations. All these office locations are not from same state. It can be from different states. It can be from let's say Florida. It can be from a different state in the in the US, or in Canada. There are different states in Canada. It could be from one of these states, or from India. You have multiple states in India. It could be from any one of these states in India. So in Workday, you can create a logical hierarchy for them so that it will be easy for us to report on. So this is how the hierarchy is going to look like. Now look at it. So the hierarchy will start like, and this is again very client specific, but most clients will start from the so there will be like a world on the top. When I'm creating a location hierarchy, it will be all world locations. It starts from here. So world locations, and under this hierarchy you will create another like this. So you'll separate it by regions, like APAC, EMEA, suppose Asia. Okay, these are different regions. If you are familiar with HR, you might come across these terminologies like APAC called Asia Pacific, EMEA. Um, did I put APAC over here? APAC, EMEA, or you can say LATAM, LATM, called Latin America. You have then some people will call it as, some companies will call these region as North America region, or NA region, or some companies will call it as just Americas. Some companies will call this as just Americas, which will include both Latin America and North America. Let's suppose we call it Americas. Under APAC region, you will again have, um, let's say, Asia. Basically, this is all Asia. You'll have countries under it. Let's say you'll have countries like China, India. Okay, so you have China, you have India, you have Indonesia. Okay, those Asian countries. Under EMEA, you'll have eastern side countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar. Any African countries, all that comes under EMEA. Under Americas, you will have let's say Venezuela. mm, you have Canada, you will have USA. And now under each of these countries, again, you will have different states, right? You will have states. Under USA, you'll have like all the states in USA. Okay, now I'm just going to take USA's example over here. Under each of these states, you will again have different cities. Okay, now you can further bifurcate. Under cities, you can have the actual locations. Okay, now these locations we will create over here. So here we have created locations, and then we are arranging it in a hierarchy. So what is the benefit of doing it? Basically, you can report on it from each level. You can say that how many employees are there in APAC. So if you ignore this for now, let's suppose it's a very big company with employees in China, India, US, Venezuela, all these different countries. It's a global conglomerate, let's suppose. Now you can report on each of these different um, hierarchical locations. You can say, give me the list of employees in America, in basically in APAC region. So APAC region is consisting of all the employees from China, India, Singapore, Indonesia, Hmm. So you can get a list of employees from all these areas, and then you can report on it. It's not just the number of employees, but you can report on what is their cost structure, how much you are spending. So there are a lot of reports you can build on each level. You can say how many. You can build reports specifically on China. You can build reports specifically on a few countries in APAC region, or you can do a combination of multiple regions like this. So it will form a logical way of arranging the employees into different organizations. So one is you arrange them into individual organizations. Now, how will you arrange them into these individual organizations? You will create, and then at the time of hiring, you will assign them a company, you will assign them a cost center, you will assign them a location, you'll assign them a custom organization, you'll assign them a business unit. And then based on how you configure the location hierarchy, based on how you configure the, let's say, company hierarchy or the cost center hierarchy, these assignments will automatically happen. So once an employee, let's say, is hired in India, if the employee is hired in India, that employee will automatically be assigned the this particular hierarchy. So he will be assigned this level 1, so he'll be automatically part of India. Any location they are hired, it will automatically be part of India, and it will automatically be part of APAC, and it automatically be part of world location. So this link will automatically happen. You don't have to specifically assign it, because of the relation between different organization superior structures in the location hierarchy. Let us configure this in Workday so that you get a better understanding of how this looks like. So I remember we created a supervisory org called as Amazon. Now this is one way of accessing the supervisory orgs. So in Workday, you can use these abbreviations like short form SUP colon and the name of the supervisory org will only pull the supervisory orgs in this particular list. So I remember, I think I created Amazon as the supervisory org, but not this Amazon. It was Amazon India Development Center. So let me look for all the supervisory orgs that has a name Amazon in this. There are more than 99. So the Amazon Development Center. So here you go. This is what we have created. So we had created Amazon Development Center, a subordinate as Amazon India Development Center. So, and I remember we created Amazon Global Center, right? So there was a global something that we created. Let me just open that. No, no, no. I remember we created Amazon Global Development Center. However, we did not assign this as a superior to any one of these organizations that we created. Here it is. So what I'll do is first I'll make the assignments first. So in Amazon Development Center, for Amazon Development Center, I'll assign a superior. So I'll say that in staffing reorganization, there is assign superior as of not today, I'll say as of 01/01/2023. I want to assign Amazon Global Development Center as a superior org. Now you have like a hierarchy created here. So you can see Amazon Global Development Center has Amazon Development Center as a subordinate. Under Amazon Development Center, you have Amazon India Development Center. I'm going to create 3 more countries. Let's say Amazon. I'm going to also create, you can also create subordinates directly from here. So you don't have to create an org and then assign. You can directly create subordinate orgs like this. So I'll say I want to create as of 1/1/2023 itself. I'll say I'll just create Amazon Canada Development, and the organization subtype I'll just create Amazon Department. And as you can see here, all the other fields are some we have I have already explained the other fields. However, as you can see here, the asterisk is only on certain fields. So the required fields are only the date and the organization subtype. So you don't have to enter anything else. If you have the data or if you have the detail, you can enter. If you don't have it, it's okay. So I'm just not going to enter everything. I'm just going to say submit. I want to create one more. So I'll say Amazon India, Amazon Canada. I'm just going to create one more called reorganization, create subordinate, Amazon UK. So I have created 3 subordinate countries for each of these supervisory orgs. Now let us create a cost center. So now let's decide how do you want to create a cost center. So basically, what is a cost center? Like I explained, a cost center is for profit and loss. So you want to create a cost center based on that. Okay, so I'm going to create a cost center, and this is how you will create a cost center. Create cost center. I'm going to be creating a cost center for each country. And let me go and select Amazon. Okay, I'll just create a new reorganization. It is fine. I'll say Amazon Development Center, and this time I'll give the reorganization date as 01/01/2023. Okay. Now this reorganization date, as I explained before, it is just for having this particular effective date. So I am doing a reorganization, meaning I'm creating a new organization or I'm reorganizing the existing structure. So it can go either ways, but the important thing is I am doing it effective this particular date. So whatever action I'm going to take after now, after I click OK, will be effective this particular date here. So now I let's say Amazon. I'll say Amazon CC Amazon. I'll say CC cost center Amazon. So I'll just say short form AMZ India. Let's suppose. And here I'm going to choose one of the existing cost centers, or maybe okay. Now let me also go back a little here and explain this. Maintain org subtypes. We did go to maintain organization subtypes the last week. And if you remember, why did we do that? When we created the supervisory org, if you remember, we always chose AMZ department, AMZ division. So when we created those subtypes for supervisory org, we went to maintain organization subtypes task. So if I search for Amazon here, AMZ, you can see that I did create these 3 organization subtypes just for supervisory org. How about I add another subtype here? Going to call it AMZ cost center. But this time, what I will do is I would like to only restrict this particular organization subtypes for cost centers only. So I'll just say it is only for cost center. I can say I can use this one, okay, AMZ cost center. Or in a better way, let us do this. No, let us keep it this way itself because it's an organization subtype. However, I will do this AMZ. I'll just say AMZ legal. Okay. Now this is only a way of determining the organization subtype. Now I'll say AMZ legal, uh, legal entities and PL. Okay, so I'll say this particular organization subtype I can use it for cost center as well as company. So it's not just the cost center that I can use. I can use the subtypes when I'm creating cost centers. I can use the same subtype when I'm creating company. However, you cannot use the same subtype when you are creating supervisory orgs in Workday. So whatever subtypes you create here, you'll also have to mention these subtypes in which organization types you are going to use these subtypes. I am saying that I'm going to use these organization subtypes only for creating cost center and company. So if you are creating a supervisory org and if you search for AMZ legal, you will not be able to find. Similarly, if in here I'm not able to find AMZ department or AMZ division, the reason being it is not added, it is not enabled for a particular organization type. So let me first click OK here. So now if I search for, you can see AMZ legal PNL as one of the subtypes that are available. If I go back here, maintain org subtype, and if I say that, hey, I don't want to use a single organization type, instead I will use separate one for legal entities and separate one for companies. Suppose I'll say I don't want to use the same one for cost center and company. I'll say Amazon expense, I want to create this as a one just for cost center, and for company I will say I do want another one called Amazon legal, and this one I only want to use it for company. Suppose this is how I would like to configure it. Now what would happen is if I remove this and again search, you will see only Amazon expense, because this is the only subtype that I have enabled for the companies, the cost center. So if I say Amazon expense, you can see that it is only enabled for the cost center, and hence you're only able to find one subtype here. The visibility will control who will have access to this particular this particular organization in Workday. If you choose everyone, everyone will be able to access. However, you can also choose a specific role assignees, and only those people will be able to access. We will understand more of this when we discuss security, but for now just understand that we are going to use everyone as the organization. So I have created AMZ expense as the cost center. I'll just add this default work tag. Somebody has enabled this as a required work tag type. You don't have to actually enable, you don't have to maintain work tags usually when you are creating cost centers, but somebody teaching finance using this particular tenant has enabled one of these work tags as a required type. So I'm just going to maintain something random over here like New York or something, just so that I can proceed with this config. So you can see that I have created this particular cost center in Workday. Now, if you look at the cost center config and if you look at the supervisory or config, it looks kind of similar, meaning, you see the members here, you see the details here, you see the role, security, additional data. So it's kind of similar to what we have in supervisory org. However, each of these orgs will have a different set of related actions. If I go to the related actions, you will see the related actions specific to the cost center. If you are going to the related actions of the cost center, if you go to the related actions of a supervisory org, you will see a specific list of actions that you can take on the supervisory org. So that way the things will look different. However, from a design perspective, it will look kind of similar. You will see the number of members here, and these will be the employees who were assigned to this particular cost center. Now I have created a cost center for India. I'm going to create, similarly, I would like to create cost centers for UK, US, and Canada. So let us go here, create cost center, and I'm going to choose the same one that I just created, Amazon development. So I'll just use the same format. So CC AMZ, I'll say USA. I'll use everyone. For everyone, I'm just going to use New York as the default location. Uh, so don't worry about it. So CC Amazon USA. I'll create one more. I'll say CC Amazon UK. Okay, so now we have created four different cost centers in Workday. Now, if I have to create a cost center hierarchy, like we discussed, suppose similar to the location hierarchy, if you want to create a cost center hierarchy, now we have CC Amazon India, we have CC Amazon UK, you have CC Amazon Canada, and then CC Amazon US. Suppose these are the different cost centers, and you will be grouping employees into these different cost centers. Now, for you to create a cost center hierarchy, this is how you'll create it. You'll first create the top level hierarchy, which will be the world cost centers. So this is the topmost, so all cost centers, or you can call it as cost CC top. So I'm just going to call it CC top. This is the top of the hierarchy. In this hierarchy, under this I'll say I'll have based on regions. So I'll say that uh, all the cost centers CC, again this I'm just configuring it as very basic based on a pack. I'll say CC, or maybe in a pack I can have one. I'll say CC, not up EMEA. I'll say CC Europe, CC Europe, and under this I'll say CC NA. Okay, so CC APAC, CC Europe, CC North America. Under APAC, you know that we already have. I'll say India, CC India. So instead of having CC India, I can directly assign this. So I'm just going to create it as a 3 level. So under APAC, I'm going to add CC India. Under Europe, I'm going to add CC UK. Under North America, I'm going to add these both. So let us create this particular structure in Workday and see. Now this time I want to create a cost center hierarchy. So I'll say create cost center hierarchy here. And I'm going to use the same reorganization, Amazon development. I'll say CC AMZ top. I'm going to use the same subtype as Amazon expense. So I'm not going to create a separate subtype here. However, you can see that Amazon expense is not available over here. The reason being it is not enabled. So let me go back here into maintain org subtype, and let me enable this particular Amazon expense for the cost center hierarchy as well. So I'll say Amazon expense here. Let me filter it. I'm going to search for cost center hierarchy. So I'll say I want to use it for both cost center as well as cost center hierarchy. Now, if I am searching it here, MZ expense, you'll be able to add it. I'll say I want it for everyone. I'll not assign any rules here. I'll click OK. So now we have created a top hierarchy. Now I'm going to create a subordinate to this particular hierarchy. So if you remember, you can create subordinates directly. Now in cost center hierarchies, you can still create, you'll have this option of creating subordinate orgs. So what we have decided that we'll create 3 region-based subordinate cost center hierarchies. So let me assign here CC AMZ APAC is one of the hierarchies. I'll use the same Amazon expense here. So I created Amazon top. So you can see I have one Amazon APAC. Similarly, I'm going to be creating 2 more region-based location hierarchy levels. So I'll just say create subordinate. So all of them effective 2023. I'll say CCAMZ EUR, and organization subtype is AMZ expense. Similarly, I will have another one created for North America. Organization is CCAMZ NA. Here I will put it as everyone, Amazon expense, and then okay. Now if I look at the organization structure here, in CC Amazon top, you have 3 subordinate orgs. Now let me assign. Now what we decided here, we decided that each of these subordinate org will have CC Amazon India, CC Amazon UK, CA and US. Okay, so we had already created these cost centers. Now let us assign the cost center to each of these orgs. Now the lowest level of the cost center hierarchy will be the cost center itself. It will, if you look at these organization types here, if I go to the details, you will see that this is of type the cost center top. This CCAMZ top is of type cost center hierarchy. If I go to APAC, you will see the CCAMZ APAC is of type cost center hierarchy. So whenever you are creating any type of hierarchy, let it be cost center hierarchy or location hierarchy or company hierarchy, this is common. Whenever you create any of these hierarchies, the top part will be the hierarchy, the middle part will also be the hierarchy, but the lowest node over here, this will always be the actual type. Like in this particular case, this is going to be the cost center. So the lowest node, the last node will be the actual organization. And if I keep going up one level, as many levels we can go until the top, you will, these all will be of type hierarchy, and this will be of type the type of the cost center. So this will be like cost center hierarchy, this will be of type cost center. The lowest node will always be the cost center, or the location or the company or the region, and any level you go above that will be region hierarchy, company hierarchy, cost center hierarchy, location hierarchy. And no matter how many levels you have, if you have it less 3 level, or if you have it like this, in this way, if you have like multi levels, like 3 to 4 to 5 different levels, each level will be considered, each level apart from the ground level. So the not the zero level. At zero level, the last node will be the location, the cost center or the company, but any level above that will be having location hierarchy or the cost center hierarchy or the company hierarchy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be assigning the cost centers that we have created. So I will go here into the APAC. I'll go to reorganization, and this time I will not create a subordinate. I'll say assign included organizations, and in assign included organizations, I am going to assign. So here I'm going to search for the reorganization that I used, Amazon development. This is a reorganization I used when I created those cost centers. Okay, so I'll use the same reorganization so that the effective date is correct. And here I'm going to search CCAMZ India. So let us see. So I have created this CCAMZ India. If you remember, this is of type cost center. So the last node will always be the cost center. So I have assigned CCAMZ India. If I go to the details here, you'll see it includes CCAMZ India. Similarly, I'm going to be assigning one for each of these hierarchies. So I have did it for APAC. I'm going to do for Europe. Go to the related action reorganization, assign included organizations. Here, Amazon Development Center. 1/1/2023. Let me go back here. In NA, here we have to assign US and Canada both. So I'll say here, I'm going to say development. So select the right reorganization. And here I'm going to be assigning CCAMZ US. So I created this. And I'm going to be assigning CCAMZ CA. So I created these two. So I have added 2 of them over here. Now, if I go back to the top of the organization and look at the org chart over here, I have an org chart here. You can see the org chart. So I have CC Amazon top. Under this, you have APAC, Europe, and North America. Under APAC, if I click here, you see you have CC India. This is a cost center. Under Europe, you have UK, and under North America, you have two cost centers. Here you have Canada as well as the USA. So that is how you can create the cost center and the cost center hierarchy in Workday. So, and you can see the numbers here. It will basically signify how many included organizations it has. So you can see for APAC you have one, for Europe you have one, for North America you have two, because I have created one for US as well as one for Canada. The cost centers is basically the org chart. It will only display the number of organizations that report on each other. So it's basically showing the organization structure. I'm going to create one um, one legal entity. So like we created cost center. Cost center is for the profit and loss calculations. So basically expenses and profits to basically see the balance statements. But why do we need a company? Company is like a legal entity. For each country, you will require to create a company. Now these cost centers, cost center hierarchy, company hierarchy, these are all important. However, it is not mandatory for you to create a hierarchy. Hierarchy is basically for convenience. So if I create a hierarchy, I can use it for convenience, basically in a way. I can group them into multiple, I can group people into these hierarchies. So I can say that if I, let's say now we have created the cost center hierarchy, right? I can basically, if I want to report on the cost center hierarchy, I can say, let's say the company want to get a report of, let me move here. Let's say the company would like to get an expense statement of the entire APAC region. So they just don't want it for one country, they want it for the entire region itself. So they can say that, okay, from this cost center, let us take the profit and loss statements from this particular cost center. What is the expenses for the entire APAC region? Now this time, since we have this cost center created, hierarchy created, you will have all the details of, if now right now we just have one single cost center under it, but let us suppose it was a global company with multiple Asian countries under a pack. So you will have maybe Singapore, you have Indonesia, you have Vietnam, you have China. So multiple APAC countries under one single cost center hierarchy. Now you can get the expense statement for all these countries, and you can compare it with other regions and say, okay, this particular region is doing really well. Or you can do it for individual countries as well. You can say what is the PNL for India. So because of this reporting capability, you might want to create, the customers would like to create a cost center hierarchy so that you can easily group the people, or you can group things, or you can report on top of these different things like this. Okay, I'm going to be creating just one company for the sake of convenience, because I don't want to waste time creating multiple companies. So I'm just going to create one company and use it for all the entire population of Amazon. But in real time, you might be having multiple companies, especially if it's a global organization. You will see multiple companies in these organizations. So I'm going to say create company. So similarly, how we created cost center, you can same way create company here. It will ask you for the reorganization. I'm going to be using Amazon development as a reorganization here. And here I'll say CO, basically for company, CO Amazon. CO AMZ legal. I'll just say that. And here, as you can see, I have already created one subtype for company specifically, and here everyone. And when you are creating a company, it will also ask you for the currency. So I'm going to be assigning a currency called USD. I'll just remove these two role assignments here. I click OK. and I have created one company, CEO AMZ Legal. Now, basically, whenever I will be wherever I'll be using whenever I'll be hiring an employee, I'll just basically use one single company for all the employees that I get hired. However, if you want to practice, you can create multiple cost centers. Sorry, you can create multiple companies and also practice using creating company hierarchy. So this can be one of your assignments. You can go back after this session, and then you can create your own list of companies and company hierarchies. And whatever I'm teaching, please go back and practice it. Look at the videos. Once those videos get uploaded, look at those videos and start practicing on your own. See how I'm creating stuff, and then you can come up with your own set of organizations and start configuring it. And when you are configuring things, start questioning each and every field that you see. So if there is anything that you think you don't understand, what is it and why is it, then please do come back and ask me those questions. I'll clarify your queries. All right. Okay. Now let me go back to maintain org types here. So in maintain organization types, we did create a company, we did create a cost center. Let us also create a location. So these are the three most important ones, and these are the three ones where you will see some additional options, or the options might be different. But once you move past this, like creating a region, program, fund, all these all these different organization types have a similar way of configuration, meaning you will not see any specific distinct fields when you are creating a business unit, or when you are creating a grant or a project or appropriation or an allocation pool. Now, believe me, you will be mostly be using the company cost center location in most cases, or if some companies they do use region and business unit. I have never used allocation pool or appropriation. I have rarely used project, never used grant. So some of these organization types are rarely used. So you don't, and if you still want to create it, you can still configure it, you can create it, you can test it. However, in real time scenarios, I have not specifically used any of these all of these organization types, because most of the company's requirements are solved by just using these organization types. Now, apart from this, if the company would like to use something and it is not part of this list, so let's say they have a custom organization that they call, um, let's say, uh, company pool, or yeah, let us call it as a project pool, or let us give us a custom name called Amazon logistics pool. I'm just making up a custom name, and you see that we don't have a custom or called as Amazon. We don't have any custom organization called as Amazon logistics pool, but the company is insisting that we want to also have and group employees into this logistics pool. So what do? You will create a custom org, and this is where you will create the custom orgs. So if you come to custom org, you can configure here. So I'm going to say edit, and I'll just add one additional custom orgs. You can see that there are about 588 custom orgs. I'm just going to be adding to one of them. So I'm just going to say Amazon, Amazon logistics. I'll just add it. And here you will have to also create used by which subtype. So I'm going to be saying I will use it for, let's say, let me see. I'll say I'll assign the subtype as AMZ Technology Center. If you want to create custom organization hierarchy. You can select allows hierarchy. If you select allow hierarchy, you can create a custom organization hierarchy for this particular Amazon logistics. I don't want to create any specific hierarchy, and here are some of the additional options here. So you can say allows reorganization tasks like move workers, yes. And I'll explain this in detail when we are discussing the some of the business processes like transfers and promotions. So that is basically if you are moving or if there is a lateral hire or lateral change, if you're transferring an employee from one country to another country, so basically you are moving workers. So if you would like to also ask if you want to change the custom organization, that is basically this. But so we will revisit this when we are discussing those business processes. For now, I am going to just assign these two values over here, and rest of the values I'm not popping up, so I'll just say position unique number. I'm going to be assigning this as well. All right, I'll click OK.
So what's the custom organization for? Why do you create a custom organization?
I cannot hear you clearly. Can you repeat it?
Why do you create custom
Why do
organization?
I
Why is
create?
this?
Yeah, why do I create custom organization? So some of the customers in who are using Workday now, see, customers come from um, different industries. There are different types of customers. There are healthcare customers, aviation customers, and these customers have a way of working initially. I mean, they are already using some ERP software, and they have a specific organization. They have a specific way of grouping employees, and one of those groupings was Amazon Logistics. In the example that I used, Amazon Logistics was one way of grouping employees. Basically, you will be assigning a group of employees into Amazon Logistics and say, okay, these employees, there are 100 employees who are part of Amazon Logistics, and you might be having Amazon Robotics, let's suppose, but you don't want to create separate supervisory organization for that. You have a different supervisory org, but you have also a way of organizing employees into each of these different categories. Like this, there are 500 employees in Amazon Robotics, so we don't have a delivered organization type called logistics or robotics. So what we do instead, and we do have cost center company, but they serve a very specific purpose. I want to further group my employees into these different organization types. So when you have these custom requirements, what you do is you'll just go ahead and create custom organizations, because these things don't already exist in Workday. Location you can create, cost center you can create, company you can create, but each of these have its own specific requirements. You cannot create a fund called as Amazon Logistics. Although we have a organization type called as fund, you will not create it as Amazon Logistics, because it will show as organization type is fund. You don't want to do that. You want to have us, if you want to have a specific custom org, you will create it as a custom organization. So it's very it's a way of customization. It's a way of Workday allowing further um, further way of customizing the existing organization structures. In a way, Workday will enable you to extend the functionalities of the organization types by enabling these custom organizations in Workday. So it is very organization specific requirement. Basically, not all companies, not all organizations who have implemented Workday will have custom orgs. Some of them do. So company, see, for you, what you need to understand is, as an HCM consultant, you don't have to worry about how company works. You just have to worry about the definition of company, like what a company is. What a company is, it's a legal entity. I'm going to be taking an example of another global company, not Amazon. I think I already explained it using Amazon analogy. So Amazon,
Pfizer.
Pfizer is not there in India. I mean, it might be there, but it's not very prevalent. So I'm just going to use Amazon because everyone knows Amazon. See, Amazon is a global company. It is there in hundreds of countries, right? It is there in India. It is there in UK. It is there in Canada. It is there in Spain. It is there in Belgium. It is there in multiple. It is there in Germany. So each of these countries have Amazon. Okay, now basically a company is required, you will have to set up legal entities here, right? You'll be registering companies in each of these countries, because you cannot register one company in the USA. You'll say Amazon Limited in USA. You cannot create, you cannot again launch a company in India with the same jurisdiction, because India laws are different. The way India, you will tax companies in India is different than the way the companies are taxed in Europe, and the way the companies are taxed in Canada, and the way the companies are taxed in the US. Different countries have their own way of taxation. Different countries have their own laws and their own way of dealing with the financials, and how the company registration. There is a different process altogether. So basically, you cannot use one the same company in the USA and then launch in India. You will have to do it. You have to have a separate company in US. You have to have a separate company in India. However, there will be a parent, like a master slave relationship, or a parent child relationship. The parent company will be the top. Amazon US is a parent company. Under that, you will have Amazon India, Amazon Europe. So the a legal entity is basically a legal company in a particular country. So for each country, you will have like a company, because that falls under the jurisdiction of the laws of that country. So you'll have to create a company for every country that particular uh, organization is functioning or operating. Does that answer your question? You can also look more. You can Google it about companies. It's a global definition. It's not very Workday specific definition. In your existing company, you have division, you have departments, and you let's say you have divisions, you have departments, you have just administrative offices, like so on. Okay, but all of these are supervisory organizations. Basically, in a specific division, you will have some employees. In departments, you have employees. In administrative, let us suppose all of these are supervisory organization where you would like to hire employees. So in Workday, you can only hire employees in supervisory organizations. However, you want to classify the organizations into different types. You will say there are certain organizations that come under the definition of a division. There are certain organizations that come under the definition of departments. There are organizations that come under the definition of admin offices. For example, let's say you have mechanical department here, mechanical, electrical, aeronautics. I'm taking off a big company, for example, General Electric. It's a very big company. They have different
Mhm.
verticals of business. They have healthcare. They have electronics. They have aeronautics. They have oil and gas. They have um, lights.
Fine.
Okay, different verticals. So they would like to call these as divisions. So each of this is called as a division. Now under each divisions, there might be, under mechanical division, there might be different departments related to mechanical. So technically, all these are supervisory organizations. However, you would like
Yeah.
to classify them into different types of supervisory orgs. This is a supervisory org of type division. This is a supervisory org of type department. Okay, this is a specific organization type administrative office. So if you want to further classify an organization types into their own subtypes, so that is where you will create these org subtypes, and you can create org subtypes for each organization type. Basically, you can have a separate subtype for cost center, for company, for location. For each of these organization types, you can create their own organization subtypes, and you know how I created it. So you can go and test it. So basically, I want you to go and create a company and then create multiple org subtypes if you want. And based on that, you can assign and see how those assignments look like. Let's say Let's take bikes again. I'm saying let's take bikes. I'm also going to take cars. So bikes is its own category. Cars is its own category. Now in bikes you have sports. You let's say you have 500 cc, 150 cc, 300 cc, okay, 1000 cc, which is basically sports. But yeah. So these are all. Suppose this is an organization. Just assume this is supervisory org. These are all subtypes. Suppose cars, you have sedan, you have SUV, you have MUV, you have sports, you have F1. Suppose. Suppose this is a cost center. Suppose these are all subtypes of cost center. So basically, you're saying this particular car is of type F1. This particular car is of type sedan. This particular car is of type SUV, or this particular bike is of type 500 cc. You understand how I'm comparing? So I'm basically comparing supervisory orgs to bikes, but if you understand how that relation works, the subtype and the org type and the subtype, this is basically it. If you want to further classify it, anytime you make a change in Workday once the project is live, and this is a protocol that is followed in every organization. Um, since you will be working as a consultant and there will be users who will be raising these issues, you will first fix it in the lower tenant and you will test it yourself. You will ask the user to test it, and then you will move it into uh, the production environment. Like if I take the projects that I'm working for, this is how the process works. There are 10 people who report to me. Okay, so my task is as an architect, um, this is how they work. Once they are given a ticket, or basically a Jira or a ticket that is assigned to them, they will first work on the configuration, and they will do it in maybe in sandbox or implementation tenant, but they will not be doing it in production. They will first configure it and they will test it. Once they have configured and they have tested it themselves, they are going to assign it to the customer. So the person who has raised the issue, they will send it for UAT. Basically, ask the customer to test if my fix is working or not. Once the customer fixes it, this consultant is going to send this ticket to me saying that I need an approval to move this to production. So once the customer has given the approval, I will do a review of the config. And once I have provided the approval, now this consultant will move this configuration into the production tenant. So you see, there is a process that is followed. There is a protocol. Basically, whatever you move into production will be tested and verified and ensured that that configuration is correct. The reason being, once you move it to production, you cannot. It will affect the actual user system. Sandbox system, implementation system is not used by anyone. It is only used by the consultants for as you to configure and fix things. But the production tenant is a tenant that will be used by the actual users who work there. Basically, the company will use the production tenant for their day-to-day task. Sandbox and implementation is for you to test your configurations before you move it to production. I hope that is clear. All the data will get refreshed into Sandbox on a weekly basis. So Sandbox will update every week, and all the other tenants will depend upon the company schedule. So if the company would like it to refresh every week, it can refresh the implementation as well. Or if they want it to refresh on a monthly basis, they can do it. At any rate, you have to request Workday to refresh it. It will not automatically happen. You'll have to create a case saying that, hey, I would like to refresh this particular. You have to schedule it. It is not auto scheduled, whereas the sandbox refresh is automatically scheduled by default on a weekly basis. Basically, every Saturday it will go on a maintenance, and as of Sunday morning, you will have a fresh copy of production in your sandbox. Okay, now let us also create locations. So location, although you know the meaning what exactly a location is, in Workday, location is also considered as an organization. The reason being, again, what is an organization? The definition of organization in Workday is basically to group people under a common umbrella. So location will also serve the same purpose. Hence, it also comes under the category of a organization. So let me create a location. Let's say I'm going to say Amazon Seattle is the name of the location that I would like to create. And here you can see there are multiple uses of a location. If you select business site, you are using that particular location as uh, a place, an actual location where there is like a building, like actual there is an office building there, and then you have employees coming and going into that particular building where they are coming and working. So that's actually a business site. If you select campus, it's like you're saying that it's a set of multiple buildings where it's a big campus. It's so bigger than a business site. Again, if you think about it, it is a way of categorizing or further classifying the organizations, like how we did for bikes, right? 500cc organization subtypes. This is also similar to that. Location usages. I'm going to be choosing business site as a location and creating Amazon Seattle. Now, when you are creating location, you will see that there are multiple other details that come here. For example, and these are all not mandatory. Like you can add the latitude and longitude and altitude details as well here. And there is a lot of other details that you can add. I'm not going to be adding each and everything. However, I'll just add the address here. So if you click on address here, you can see that the address line one, since this is specific for US, there are certain address lines that are mandatory and some of them are not mandatory. So let us put the effective date as 01/01/2023. I'm going to be giving the Amazon Seattle address. So let me just Google the Seattle address real quick. Amazon Seattle office. I'm doing it on my phone. So I'll just say this is 440 440 Terry Avenue, Seattle,
Washington.
Washington, and the pin code is 98109. Funny thing, if I Google Amazon corporate headquarters, it has a Amazon, I mean Google My Business page, and the rating is 2. So people have like rated it 2 stars. That's funny. Primary, and yep. So I'm just going to click OK. What's here? The time profile. Okay. So I have added the address here, and then I also have to give the time profile. So basically, this is like the time zone. So I'm just going to say, what is it? So we have a lot of time profiles here. I'm just going to select the correct one. So let me just scroll down. You know what? Let us create a time profile. Big deal. So I'm just going to say, I'll create time. So I'll just go and say maintain time profiles. So you can select. Workday already delivers a lot of time profiles. You generally don't have to do this activity because one of these is going to match yours. Like you can see 40 hours USA, 40 hours standard hours, or you do have Pacific somewhere, HIJKLMNOP. But then this is a test tenant and people have abused it a lot. So I'm just going to create my own then. I'll say I'll say Pacific Standard Time, P time, and I'll say 40 hours. The reason I have to provide these scheduled weekly hours is because whenever you hire an employee, the number of hours that particular employee is going to work over a week or on the working days of a week will be derived from what you provide here. Now, some people, what do you say? Certain countries have 40-hour times. Certain countries have a 35-hour work week. Some countries have 30-hour work week. It depends from country to country. If you take India, for example, they also include lunch as a part of their work week. So some companies use 45-hour work weeks in India. However, in US, mostly it is 40 hours. So based depending upon how many what is the scheduled weekly hours, you will configure this. Yeah, you guys can go on mute if you're not talking. And so the scheduled weekly hours is going to be 40. I'm going to click OK here, and let me search now for Pacific here. So I just created the time profile. Did I put the right spelling? Okay, now it got created. So let me now search for Pacific, and you can see Pacific Standard Time 40 hours. This is what we have created. So this is a time profile that we have created, and I am going. It is already defaulting to Pacific time, that is GMT -8, and the rest of the config is again not mandatory. But if you want to add a display language, you can add the display language. Um, if you want to also add the default currency, you can also add the default currency. So I just created one location called AMZ Seattle, and I click OK, and it has now created a location. Now whenever you are hiring an employee, you can add this particular AMZ Seattle here. Now similar to this, I'm going to be creating two more, actually three more. I want to create one for the US, one for India, and let's say India, US, UK. So let me create a few more locations. I'll just create one for India. So I'll say Amazon Hyderabad. So this is what we have in Hyderabad, and business site. Click OK. In the contact information, let me add India here. So this is how you can change the addresses. I'll say this time it's for India. And as I change the country, you can see that the address lines, what is required, what is not required, is automatically changing. So I'll just say in India, I'll just put random address like this. Hyderabad, city is Hyderabad. And you can see that based on the country that I choose, Workday automatically also pulls up the states as well. If you are using US, it will give you all the list of the states in US. I'm going to be putting it as okay. I have to provide the time profile here. So here, let me just search for India. 40 hours India. I'm going to be choosing one of the existing time profiles. And here I'll change the time zone to Kolkata, which is the correct one for India. Display language, I don't have to configure these everything, but I'm just going to configure it anyway. So I created one for, so this is in Hyderabad. This is basically Amazon office in India. We have created Amazon office in US. I'm going to be creating one in London. So let me just create one for London as well. So I'll say AMZ London. And here I'm going to be using again the business site, and I'll add the contact information as here United Kingdom. Okay, I'll just say London, London, 3, 4, 5. And here, say 40 hours UK. I'm just going to say take a random 140 hours, and here, let's say Europe, Western Europe, GMT. I'm just taking some random time zone here, and I'm going to click OK. Okay, so we created one for London, and finally let us create one for Canada. So I'll just say AMZ Toronto. AMZ Toronto. Location usage is business site. And let me quickly create one for Toronto here. So 01/01/2023. This is Canada, and some avenue square random. I'll just use because use Quebec and 1 2 3 4 5 as oh, let me. So it's giving a checksum error. Basically, let me just Google one of the postal codes in QEBC Quebec. So GOA1H0 is a valid postal. Or it's G0A. Okay. Okay, now it's working.